and I told my priest friend that, I said, nothing changed. I would say nothing changed the trajectory of our marriage more than the Five Love Languages book and me understanding it. If there's any regret I have, it's like I should have read that a long time ago.
That should be part of pre-K as well. You should hammer that out. Everybody should know the other person's love language and they should identify ways that the other person can fulfill that.
Welcome back, everyone. Craig and Jonah here today. How are you today, Jonah?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Surviving on 4 hours of sleep.
Tough times at your house, huh?
Yeah. If you aren't fulfilled in your intimate life, you should just have a conversation with your wife.
I don't know what that's like. None of the people listening to this know what that's like, but go on.
A guy gets used to really passionate sex every night. That's what I'm going to say.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's been going on for weeks. And, man, I don't know how it happened, but talk to your wife. Just talk to her. And I don't know. I don't. This is like uncharted territory. I'm not sure. But
fitting.
It is fitting. It's amazing. But I get no sleep. And that's fine. I'm willing to sacrifice.
I think I doubt there's a single guy out there that wouldn't sacrifice sleep for that.
Yeah, and I don't know how long I can keep sacrificing it for, but
yeah,
I don't know. You got to.
You're gonna be living on love and Red Bull.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just know that for us to get here, and who knows, like you said, how long this can last. I don't know. It's a really amazing part of our marriage right now, and I don't know, as long as we keep feeding each other's love languages. Like I came home from work yesterday and cleaned the bathroom because I know she hates that, and just stuff like that. I try to do something that she doesn't like doing, or stuff that she's kind of told me in passing. I think that really helps as far as feeding love languages, and she feeds mine. And
well, sounds like you've stumbled upon the Joe Pilot path to happiness.
I hope so. I'm really hoping that.
I think you and Pilot ought to collaborate on a book or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Dolores and I have talked about writing a book, and maybe that will happen someday.
But we're Catholics, of course, right? So we have trepidations about doing things that make other people's lives better and happier because there might be some sin involved there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's difficult to think about that part of it when, your marriage is just incredible and everything's going amazing. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, in full disclosure, we're not going through what you're going through, but compared to, I think my wife and I would agree that compared to really at any point in our marriage, but certainly like the dog days of child rearing, things are as good now as they've ever been. And I would I remember what it was like when it didn't feel that way. Now, we didn't go through what you went through.
Yeah, maybe that's much more a low point than you.
And I wonder if that desert period isn't fueling.
If it was so suppressed for so long that it's very possible.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you should try to do that purposely.
Yeah,
but
there you go. If you're in, maybe everyone's path's a little different. I do think it takes a little bit of struggle and in the desert to appreciate the good times. Maybe.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people could appreciate this, but
yeah.
I think part of it too. What is so amazing about it right now is that we have been through so much together, and it's just such a deeper experience because of the connection that we have. And I think that's really a big part of it too. So it's something that you couldn't experience when you were first together or anything like that. It's something that needs to grow over time organically.
Yeah.
And it grew even though I didn't think it was growing, in the midst of the desert times. And yeah, I don't even know what to say.
And do you think the kids notice?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, I'll call her my lover. Like I'll say, like when the kids sit down between us, I'm gonna say, "You're gonna sit between me and my lover," you know, and they think that's when they're like, "Oh, she's your wife," you know. And I mean, yeah, you know, we're more playful, affectionate, no bickering. I don't know. I mean, if that's a bad marriage, then I don't know, or like a marriage that has issues, I don't know what to
Yeah.
say.
So this past weekend, a buddy of mine who was in the seminary with me many, many years ago, who he went on and became a priest. He's been a priest for not 20 years, 15 to 17 years, probably something like that. And you know, we don't talk often. Like we might not talk for. I probably see him every couple of years or so. A lot of times he's the one traveling, and he'll say, "Hey, Craig, are you around? I'll stop in and visit." And so we always have him over. And we actually got down talking. Um, Funny story. So where we live, which I can't tell anyone here, but I when we had moved to this area, we're transplants, and we bought our property. I felt like there was some providence involved in how the whole process went together. And I told him that, and at the time, Jonah 2.0, if you're listening, I thought we were going to build some sort of a Catholic community around here, and maybe that still will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But
it'd be a unique one if you do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, but you know, I have always felt, and I continue to feel that you know we came here for a purpose, and I said, strangely enough, I said, if you ask me now, I believe the reason that God put us here is so I would run into Jonah.
Oh.
And I mean that. I mean that completely. We would have never met otherwise,
No,
right?
we never would have.
And I says,
and I too was bent on moving here as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know.
Yeah. I am absolutely convinced if we're not here for any purpose on earth, it was to find each other and start talking about these things. Cause I said, I was just telling a little bit about the podcast. And I said, you know, nothing aside from my family, nothing brings me more fulfillment and joy than doing this.
This is a lot of fun, man.
And the people that we've been able to reach and have reached out to us and shared similar stories. And I really believe that, and it's actually this is always fun. It never feels like work.
No.
But it is a privilege to be able to talk about these things. And one of the things I told him, I said, you might be surprised how many people go through, and we didn't get into the details, but I think he can understand kind of what's going on. I said, there's a lot of people struggle with this, and they really don't have anywhere to go because who do you talk about these things with? Because I said, I would say in most marriages, maybe not all. I mean, at a number one level, there's probably conflict going on.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's not that common that a couple is struggling through under the yoke of humani vitae, whatever you want to call it, together, and they're just simply carrying this cross in the same way and all that. I mean, usually there's going to be conflict and some hurt. Probably you feel like your marriage is maybe breaking up, or you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I said a lot of times one of the spouses, probably the guy, is probably struggling with some moral issues. And I said, it's not easy to talk about those things and acknowledge that that's going on. Maybe in the confessional, but beyond that, no one's going to talk about it. And I said, if you go online, I said, that's one of the reasons that this podcast started, is I said, all I really wanted was just a forum or a community where people could talk and share. And because I pretty intuitively figured out that a lot of this is in many ways a product of men and women just experiencing life very differently and communicating very, very differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's one thing to kind of recognize a problem. It's another thing to like find a solution if there is a solution. And I said, if you go online, there isn't a place, or it's sort of the I don't know, it's the hardcore people that are like, well, here's what it is, carry your cross, shut up, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's still the case. Largely, we're still sort of unusual in that respect. But I said, it is almost universal, and every day, when you and I talk, I'm more and more convinced that this is just the lot in life of people,
Mm-hmm.
Catholics, and not even just Catholics. I told them, I said, this is not just a Catholic issue. All these types of dynamics come up in any marriage, regardless of whether they're using contraception or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I said it is heightened in a Catholic household because of all the moral rules and things that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And my wife talks about that as far as the nervous about being pregnant every single month.
Yes.
And just that takes a toll over time.
I'm certain. I mean, my just having for like, let's say the last year or so, we've kind of been in this phase where our youngest is weaned. She's still 3. She's still a handful, but she's not that intimately dependent upon my wife like a baby is, who's breastfeeding and all that.
Yep.
And she hasn't been pregnant. And I can tell a difference. She can tell a difference, and
my wife said too. Dolores said the other day we were talking about this, just what changed, and she said that after she had kids, her brain totally changed, and she can kind of feel it coming back, to what it was like before.
I'm sensing that too, because like I literally every day something happens and I'm like, I haven't seen this side of my wife since we were like before we were married, really.
I was just talking to her about that.
Yeah. And maybe this is just a midlife thing. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it could be a lot of things, but I definitely think that the kind of strain of childbirth and pregnancy and all that has a huge influence on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was recounting with him. I said, and here's the I don't know what's so difficult about all this is, I said, as we were going through some of these struggles, and I said, someone put me in touch with a traditional priest who came in and heard a story, and it's like, what you need is another kid. And I'm like, right?
What stage was that at? Like when was that said to you?
Within the last year and a half.
Oh man,
yeah. You're struggling with church teaching, Craig. The best thing you could do is get your wife pregnant. I was pretty, yeah, I was pretty confident at the time that was not the right advice for me, and I'm super confident now it was not the right advice.
It would have been good for you to have him talk to your wife about that.
Yeah.
Because they could really hash it out as far as, what her reservations are versus why he's gung ho,
Well, I did tell her, and I can't repeat what she said, so. But I think that is, and this is not the fault of the priests, I don't think. I think this is the limited toolbox they have available to them. But when couples come to them in this situation, they're like, well, you got 2 options. You can live like brother and sister, or you can have a baby, or potentially expose yourself to that. And it's elegantly simple, but it's not all that helpful.
It's not practical. It's just not.
Right.
Because that's going to lead to secret solo activity, typically among the guy, possibly both. And that's just not good for anybody.
But they got to know that. They hear confessions, but I don't know.
Maybe that's better, though, because at least that's outlined in the catechism, where that's, force of habit and all that.
It is. I'm not here to say whether that's a good thing, a bad thing, or whatever. We're just stating fact. It is almost a universal fact in most marriages. If you're dealing with these things, if you're dealing with a fair amount of abstinence, most guys have some level of issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just
it's difficult living with a woman as far as seeing my wife in a sundress gardening.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real temptation.
Yeah. which is
It
always
is?
yeah, and it's so funny. I mean, I just think it's so funny. They're like, well, don't you dare live together before you get married because you won't be able to control yourself. You'll be unchaste. But as soon as you get married, oh, it's
Yeah.
now we're sharing. You know, we're sharing a
Sharing
bed.
a bed.
We've shared each other's bodies. We know what that's like. And now
Yeah.
you're just supposed to like the switch is supposed to go back on and off. Oh, now you're
Yeah, like when you're laying in bed next to your wife at night.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of guys are just waiting for her to go to sleep so
Yep.
they can take care of it.
Yep. It
There's
is.
a lot of truth in that.
You can say what you want about it.
But that's the truth.
We're just stating fact, right? And what I think is so what I think a lot of couples, especially men, I think struggle with is they're like they're not happy with it. They don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to do that.
Right?
I mean, and biologically your sperm turns over every like 3 days.
Yeah.
And something's gotta happen with it.
Yeah. And they're like, there are more productive outlets for this that could actually benefit our marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And benefit my wife, right?
Yep. That's why I think the best question a wife can ask her husband is how often this is happening.
Yeah.
Just ask him.
Yeah.
I mean, just get it out there.
I don't care how trad you are because
this comes for everybody.
Yeah. And I think that is the great, I don't know, unspoken truth of Catholic marriage.
And if I was going to redo pre-Cana, I would have that as part of the curriculum where you just get that out there, how much solo activity is occurring, and then that sets the baseline for intimacy. Like as far as you should think about this. Well, you know, so people's needs are being met.
And I would tell people, I mean, maybe if there are those unicorns that don't have any experience with it, just wait. Like marriage is going to make it more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, so I was listening to our old friend Christopher West the other day, and I actually there was a spot in that I agree with him quite a bit, but he was talking about how John Paul II, I believe it was, specifically said, living the married life chastely is far more difficult than being celibate or being, quote unquote continent, you know, like you know, these so-called Josephite marriages. I think he kind of got it. I think he understood that the intimate life of a married couple makes chastity more difficult, not easier. And that's that's sort of that runs contrary to what I think all of us are led to believe is just make it to marriage. It's hard now. Just make it to marriage and everything's going to be better.
Well, like right now, if we just sit and talk and just hold hands, I mean, like sparks just fly.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to suppress that?
Right.
You know,
right. And are we
there's nothing
supposed
wrong
to?
with that.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and I think for a lot of Catholics, they feel very, they don't trust that. They just, you know,
or like even if I just give her a back rub and I see the goosebumps go across her body, I mean, you know, that's,
yeah.
I mean, that's just too much for me.
Yep. And that I think is, I mean, it is the age-old challenge for people, especially for Catholics, to have that comfortable balance of not being slaves to our passions, but also not becoming Manichaean and completely despising and distrusting body, because these are natural. I mean, you know, like it or not, these are natural occurrences of the body. God presumably put them there for a purpose. And
for which connection may be the primary purpose.
Right.
I mean, John Farrell would disagree.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
but you do it a lot more than you have kids, like we've talked about before, and it fosters such a great connection.
And why is that? Right. And so if procreation is the primary, if not exclusive, you know, the drill trads think that's the only reason to come together. But I think most modern trads realize that, we don't want to live that way.
Yeah.
But there are so many positive benefits that come from that type of physical intimacy beyond making babies, right? And why is that? And if it's God's design, why are we so afraid of it? And this is, I think, the struggle for a lot of couples when you're going through those periods is you're like, my marriage is kind of sucks right now. I'm doing
Been
these
there.
things that I'm not proud of,
Been there.
which are not helping. And then you're like, and there are very natural, obvious alternatives to this that would
Make
benefit
both
the
people
marriage,
happy, yeah.
right?
Yep.
And we're not doing it or can't do it or not sure if we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes through almost every Catholic household if the couple is
Oh,
fertile,
yeah.
right?
I mean, every one of them, like you said, even Protestant
Mhm.
couples. I mean, yeah, one of my friends the other day, he was talking about how often him and his wife are intimate.
Mhm.
And he just said he feels like his needs are tolerated. They're not really. And I mean, that's a tough situation too. And I don't know how you get I'm like, we have reignited the spark, but it's important for everybody to do that. Find a way.
Mhm. Yeah. It's almost universal. And the other thing, because sort of related to this, so we already touched upon it, but this is something I emphasized to my priest friend is like, I said, the problem with that, like I said, that approach that I said, where the trad priest basically said, well, you can be cousins or you can become parents again. Those are your choices. And I'm like,
gosh.
but
Or we get divorced. Is that good? Should we get divorced? Screw it.
Right.
Bad enough. Like for us too, we could have very easily gotten divorced at some point.
Yeah.
But it would have been just stupid. So stupid for us to get divorced.
Yeah.
I mean,
over
just over tension, really. And I'm glad that it didn't, happen.
And even if we take that extreme off the table, right? Even if we take that extreme off the table, so
but
that's
not like people do get divorced.
Right. But even if not, you have, neither of those options of, let's say, having another baby, if that's not truly something you both feel called to do and want to do that, or living like brother and sister, all of that has a dramatic effect on the atmosphere of the home and the family, and the kids pick that up.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Like that, if there's anything I've come to feel more certain about over my 20-some years of marriage is that this stuff doesn't. I mean, if you want to talk about the importance of family, if you want to talk about the importance of raising children, keeping them in the faith, whatever, this has to be part of the conversation, and possibly the most important part of the conversation, because I don't care. I think you ask most couples, if they had to choose between, let's say, financial stress in their life or this kind of stress, would gladly put up with financial uncertainty if this part of their marriage is good, because
but have emotional connection.
Right. This covers a multitude of sins.
Mm-hmm.
It can, I'm just certain that God did that for a reason, because he understood that, look, life is unpredictable. You're going to experience some curveballs. You're going to go through some things, but you always have this to sustain your marriage and to keep you going. And it doesn't cost you anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfectly natural. And that somehow we've just come to distrust this great gift that God gave us.
And great sex makes great marriages. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a key component.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
More so than what, some would say. I mean, at least for me personally, I don't know how you really have a solid relationship without it.
Because it is not like it is, the benefits are limited to the, 30 minutes or an hour or whatever you're in the bedroom.
Like 2 hours.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I know. Well, we're efficient with our time. It's not like, this is the thing. It's not just that. And it's not even just the short, brief period when the pleasure is the most.
Mm-hmm.
It is everything that happens after that. It deeply impacts how the spouses interact with each other, how you can tolerate
handle
the
problems,
the challenges of life. It has all these ripple effects, good and bad, depending on what you're doing.
No, we have argued over some of the dumbest crap in the past just because tensions were so high.
Yep.
And once those tensions are gone, you can deal with it effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that is the thing that I think I think as we as a church have been, I would say, very slow to kind of come to grips with and to talk about openly because, for better or for worse, we have, I would say, the most traditional kind of, I don't want to say old style, but just, we just, we just look at things in these black and white, um, frameworks that I think a lot of couples find marriage isn't so black and white, and these
Mm-hmm.
concepts and ideas, well, maybe good in theory and maybe as general guiding principles, are actually not all that super helpful in the day-to-day grind of a marriage and the ebb and flow and the seasons and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And
We keep finding ways to talk about this stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's important.
Yeah. And I when I hear you talk about how you're going through and I reflect on how we're doing, I mean, I mean, I'm just so thankful and blessed because we came together because we were kind of a couple of grumpy guys that didn't have anyone else to talk to about this stuff, right?
And we fixed it in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And now the problem here, we haven't totally figured out why, how. I mean,
It's true.
we are sincerely trying to like reverse engineer this as best we can, and we try to share things with our audience as we can, as best we can.
I think that for both of us, the love language stuff was part of it.
Yes.
That was a key component.
I told this my priest friend, and I said nothing changed. I would say nothing changed the trajectory of our marriage more than the 5 love languages book and me understanding, and my wife was there and we were talking about that. I if there's any regret I have, I mean, it's like I should have like read that a long time ago.
That should be part of pre-K as well. Like you should hammer that out. Everybody should know the other person's love language and how, and they should identify ways that the other person can fulfill that.
Because I have opportunities to apply those concepts literally every single day of my marriage.
And everybody should be doing that.
Yeah.
For their spouse.
Yeah. It's not a cure-all, but I tell you, it will reveal a lot of what's going on, because this is one thing I think is really important, because this deals with such a sensitive, vulnerable part of our lives. It is very, and we're hurt by this. I think where a lot of marriages really go off the tracks and maybe never recovers because it is very easy to attribute bad motives or the worst motives to your spouse. I mean, it's just a natural, maybe it's a coping mechanism. I don't know. But I genuinely believe, I mean, like, think about it. Everyone gets married because you're in love and you imagine yourself spending the rest of your life with this person, and they're your favorite person on earth, and you want to make babies with them, and you want to do all the things, grow old with them. And things change over time, right? And it's
for 50% of people or more, 50% get divorced.
Yeah. And I don't think that you decide, you know what, I really just want to hate this person now. It kind of happens. But I think a lot of this is just people sincerely doing their best, and you grow apart, or you find yourself in these difficult times of life without an obvious way out of it. And people, despite their best motives, despite their best intentions, despite their love for their spouses, this shit can just wreck your marriage. And that's why, for me, the 5 love languages help me deal with some of those temptations to attribute bad motives to my wife, and just understand, look, we're different. She's different. I'm different. And it helped my wife, I think, because the stuff that just pissed her off so many years ago, I mean, she understood I was just not understanding her, and she
didn't understand you.
Didn't understand.
Like for us too, like recently, one of the things that we really talked about was just my love language as far as touching or whatever. Like she didn't understand that as far as, like, she just thought I was always trying to, make a move.
Yeah.
But it means a lot to me
Yeah.
if she just holds my hand, even for like 10 seconds while we're driving.
Yeah.
You know, or gives me a kiss when I get home.
Mm-hmm.
And like that stuff means a ton to me.
Mm-hmm.
And just little things like that.
Yep.
It gives me the energy to want to do what she wants, you know. Like it fuels my energy. Her affection towards me fuels my energy.
And it's that classic chicken and egg problem in marriages, though, because and I think we all go through this and probably continue to go through this, is if one spouse feels like their needs aren't being met, you naturally either you withhold or you just don't instinctively,
or you resent,
fulfill your spouse's love language. And now you're both like, you know, who started? I don't know. Maybe no one knows. But now you're both
in a terrible rut.
Yeah, you're in a rut because neither one of you are giving what the other spouse needs, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And it takes someone getting off of that, and
it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there, you know, and just say, you know, this has to change.
You ever see the movie Fireproof? It's got Kirk Cameron. There's a I don't know if they're still putting movies out, but it's a non-Catholic but a Christian group that put together some really high quality movies. I think
is it Angel Studios? Or
could be Fighting the Giants. It's a similar cast of characters, and it's a lot of just real life stuff about people going through real life things.
Yeah, it's like they're Christian movies, but they're not like in your face Christian movies.
Right,
yeah, and they're great. I love those movies too.
So Fireproof, I really like that movie, and it's about the couple. They kind of got it all. I don't think they had kids, but he's a fire. You know, they have it all, and then they just start to hate each other's guts, and then they're on the brink of divorce, and I think it's his dad gives him this book on how to get it back on, and he basically has to start loving his wife every day, even though she just hates his guts and doesn't reciprocate. And it's sort of a dramatic version of this, but it's the same thing. Like and at first he hated it because he didn't want to do it, but he's like, okay, I'm going to do this for my dad. And then as he got into it, he found himself doing it because he wanted to love his wife, and some of the things that he was doing for his wife, even though she was just getting more and more angry at him, right? Like it wasn't like she was softening; it was actually making it worse. But once he got to the point where like this, I'm not just doing this because I'm following the stupid book or because my dad, you know, I promised my dad I would do it. He was doing it because it was the right thing to do for his wife, whether she reciprocated it or not. And, you know,
well, that's beautiful.
Of course, it's got a happy ending and all that. But I think there's a lot of truth there to that.
There is. You have to actively love your spouse.
Right.
Every day.
Yep. And I think
even when they're bitchy.
I don't know what that's like. So just but and my sense has been not universal. I think there's a lot of marriages where the spouses are struggling. One spouse sort of either recognizes there's a problem or is motivated to do something, and the other spouse isn't for some reason. And it could be just because of the dynamics. There's just not even the ability to collaborate on this kind of stuff, right? One spouse maybe wants to go counseling and the other one doesn't, or whatever. And in some of these things, I mean, it's a very scary and vulnerable place to be if you're the spouse that's like, I'm going to take the lead. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to change myself, and I'm going to do what I can to love my spouse, even if it seems to be making no difference at all, or maybe even is making the situation seem worse. Like that. That is, I think, there is so many couples out there that find themselves in that situation. And I just want to tell you, it's worth doing. Like, just do it.
Do it.
I can't guarantee you it's going to, but I think there's a high likelihood because, like I said, your spouse married you because they loved you. They probably still do love you, but they're just finding it really hard to do so or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's a mistake for most people to get divorced, to be honest. I think because it's all about communication and intimacy for the most part, not in every single case.
And
you have some issues for some people, but
yeah, and I think
by and large,
it's sadly avoidable for most people. I
Mm-hmm.
think most people it is avoidable, or at least it was avoidable at some point in time, and I think even towards the end, unless you just moved on, you've got another relationship or something like that. I mean, even then, marriages can recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that can be done now. In the perfect world, both couples identify it, both couples are invested in finding a solution, and I would say it's much easier, but it doesn't have to be a mutual thing. Just takes one of you. Just takes one of you.
And it's going to be painful for that person for a while.
Yep.
But eventually you can break through the wall, I think.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I'm going to give hope and confidence to those people that it can be done and it's worth doing.
Definitely.
And what's the worst that happens? What's the worst that happens?
Mm-hmm.
You did the right thing
and
things.
Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you
got nothing to lose.
Leave no doubt that you did everything you could to make this work. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
And you have a lot to gain.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm telling you, if we can do this, anybody can.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm enjoying things right now. Now, I will say, you and I have talked a lot about, whether we should write some of this down, or like I said, if we could figure it out. Now, so I'm going to bring this full circle because this is a Catholic podcast and I got to talk about the stuff that we struggle with and you were just telling me recently about someone we know, and all the people I know that have like really great marriages, there's some place in that where they, what do I say, are cutting corners,
deviate from, yeah.
And I don't know what to do with that.
And
right?
The priests don't know that.
Yeah.
Unless they hear their confessions, possibly if they confess it, I don't know.
Yeah, that is the great rub here, and that this is,
and it isn't birth control.
No, all these couples are not using birth control.
It's primarily other acts, or
something along those lines, right? And almost universally,
because I think for some reason people do know that birth control is wrong to a certain degree. It's like that feels like a wrong step.
Yeah, it's certainly much more publicly known. Even though there's lots of Catholics that don't know or don't care, I think there's a lot of Catholics that do know and do care and try, and then find themselves, well, okay, well, what about the rest of the time? And
the NFP is great, but what about the rest of the time?
Yeah. And that's
like the 2.5 weeks when your wife is excited.
Yeah. These are the couples that I think this is what the Uncharted Catholic Man is ultimately about, is helping those couples find a way and navigate it, because unless you're just like, okay, the brother and sister route is fine, or cranking out more babies is fine, which for most of us isn't a sustainable long-term thing. And I would go so far as to say is probably not a good solution for most people. Neither of those are really good solutions for people.
Unless you can financially and emotionally afford that many kids. I don't know. No. It comes at a cost.
Yeah. I mean, don't get married till you're 35 and you've got a bunch of money set aside and you just have kids until you can't have kids anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for most of us, the devil's in the details a little bit. And this is where I think I don't know what the solution is. All I know is that we need more awareness of the situation and what couples are going through and how they can and are making their marriages better. And what do we do with that? Is that like,
if that stuff makes marriages better, universally so far, we haven't run into anybody that said otherwise.
Yep.
What do we do with that?
Yeah. I think that's the question that I think most of us inquiring minds want to know.
Especially when it comes down to that, which brings them together versus secret solo activity.
Yep. And that's where I think where I think a lot of couples either they just like, well, what are we going to do otherwise? And they just, I don't know, just go to confession a lot, skip communion a lot, whatever, wait for this season in life to pass. Or maybe through their, I guess, formation and following of their conscience, just come to the conclusion this is obviously not wrong, do it, and so the priests don't hear that in confession, and maybe a whole bunch of variations in between. I don't know.
The primacy of conscience does have a role here.
Yeah, that it could be. It could be that is, again, the genius, God's genius for us is, I don't know. I don't like to wade too much into the moral questions and whatever, but I think it has to be said is because I'm constantly surprised, not shocked, at how universal this scenario is for couples. Even couples who might surprise you, right?
Like my friend from years ago, when we talked to him about how he hadn't been solo and like.
Yeah, we're like, how the heck is that possible, right?
And then he's like, oh, we do that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
okay.
All right, that makes sense. Then.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And he's a super religious guy. I don't know.
Gonna be a deacon.
Yeah, he's planning on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all I know is this. I don't know a lot of things, but I know this, that I know that a good, the difference between a good marriage, bad marriage and a great marriage, it can be very fine.
Yep.
But it can make an enormous amount of difference, and it can make a huge difference in just going through life, raising children, just doing the stuff that makes humans great. And
that's a really good point, because like in our marriage right now, the problems and issues that we have are no different than during the times when we resented each other.
Yeah.
But they're much more manageable now.
Yeah. I mean, this is the great lubricant, I think, for making the marriage.
Sorry. I'm so juvenile, but that was
for making the motor of the marriage run well.
It is lubricating. Yeah.
But we don't let synthetic stuff around here. It's got to be
all natural. All that's natural, right.
Yep. But it really is.
Prefer it.
Yeah.
Not totally opposed.
Yeah. It really is, right?
Yeah.
And that's I think is the thing that I don't know.
It just feels like something is fundamentally missing
Yeah.
in the strict interpretation of everything.
Yep. And I just haven't seen, and it could be just my own limitations, I haven't seen a ton of evidence that the people of influence in the past really even considered it, and may not have even been aware of it
or experienced it.
Certainly didn't experience it, because the podcast back in the early centuries weren't what they are right now. Right?
Yeah, we would have been stoned probably.
Yeah. Stoning ourselves, maybe. I don't know. So that's yeah. So I think the more that we can kind of lift the veil on this a little bit, make it okay to talk about this stuff, and I guess to the extent we can get more and more priests, and who ultimately, I mean, that I've heard it a million times when you're doing this, go talk to your priest. Okay, well, I want you to talk to your priest, but I also want your priest to understand some of these things that they probably don't, and you probably don't want to talk about, but it would be helpful if they had this as background, right? Every priest should hear this stuff.
Yeah, there really should be, I think, within each parish, some sort of council set up to help marriage, based on with lay people, not priests. No offense to the priests, but you need to have experience.
Uncharted Catholic man should be part of seminary formation.
Boy, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah. We could put on a workship.
I'll come talk. Yeah, we'll come talk at your seminary. Because, having been in the seminary myself, I can tell you this would have been like mind-blowing information. What
the realities of marriage are.
Yeah. Because I was a Christopher West prodigy back then, so nothing against Christopher West. Like his last video was pretty good. And I think he gets a lot of it right. But on this stuff, when you get in the weeds again, they're kind of like, well, here's your two options, take it or leave it. And the gray, they just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. We're just a couple of bobos with a podcast. We can kind of say what we want, but
yeah,
that's what the next generation of priests hears, and I understand why they might be unaware of this stuff, and so we want to try and change that as best we can.
Definitely. And improve marriages.
And
like
improve
that's
marriages,
a goal of mine. I
Yeah.
would love to improve marriages for everybody because that'll heal society.
Yeah, I mean, and
the Catholic Church.
Yeah, having I've kind of journeyed with you for the last few years and seen this like this. It makes me so happy. It makes me so happy and excited to see what you're going through and whatever. And I want that for everyone. So
definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay. Well, we managed again to ramble on for 45 minutes with no plan, but just a lot of love and
no script. Yeah,
that's right. There's no editing in this stuff. I think that's people don't know. We literally sit down, we talk,
we get up, and I was literally 4 hours of sleep, maybe.
I got a little more than that, but mine was for totally different reasons than you. So,
yeah, that happens too.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Jonah. And until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.